Get out the way. Who got a watch? Who got the time? I'm raising the clock. Even in my feelings, grind don't stop. Got big dreams, want big rocks. I got plans, you got talk. Heard it's real cheap, but it's really gon' cost. I'm trying to get these ends, building empires with my friends. I'm about handling my business. No time for stress over bullshit. You think success is an option? I'm trying to get this shit poppin' like woo. Big moves, my rules. Y'all heavy on the tweeting. I'll disappear a whole season like woo. Who said they looking for me? I'ma make.
Hey, DeMarie TV family. So everything I say is alleged, just in my opinion, and it is for entertainment purposes only. So Lexi has decided to come out and make another statement. You know, if you don't want to be a part of the Love and Marriage Huntsville franchise, if you don't want to be a part of the Fletchers family, be quiet. Stop talking. They're not talking to you. So why do you keep coming out and putting all this information out? They're not doing that. They're not addressing you. They're not talking. They're not doing interviews. They're not giving statements. They're not doing any of that. Your sister hasn't addressed your accusations that she only wants to be married to football players. Chris hasn't defended what you said he told you. Lance hasn't said anything to you. You come out and you sprayed this whole family. You sprayed them. You just sprayed them. You said whatever you wanted to say, and you're still saying whatever you want to say. Only now it's with the caveat that if you reply to me on the Love and Marriage Huntsville television show, I'm going to tear some shit up. Okay? Lexi, I'm going to make the same comment I said before. You need to grow up. When you fire shots at people, and I want to be clear, you fire shots at your siblings, you fire shots at your father's wife, you fired shots at your father. Every single one of those people have a right to fire shots back at you. You don't get to speak with impunity and have no one say anything back to you. You don't get to tell people's story and say, I can say about your life. You're talking about your parents' marriage, when they was married. You even done dropped dates on your parents' marriage and their divorce, which was 30 years ago. 30 years ago. So the things that you're speaking of, you were a little kid. Little. There's no way this is coming from you. And it is coming from her mother. What you're talking about, your parents' divorce and all this, is not your lived experience, and you should not be talking about that. You can talk about your relationship with your dad all day long. But talking about Kayla and what she wants out of life and what all she want to be, inappropriate. Lance, inappropriate. Your siblings should always be off limits. How dare you? You don't have the right to speak of your siblings in any negative way because they're not out here talking about you negatively. And just because in your mind they got to grow up with their father, that is usually not the lived experience of the children who are in the household. They have issues with him and what he did as well. So you are just piling on to their existing pain. You don't get the right to do that. I don't care what anyone in the world says. Nell's been with this man for 30 years now. She is his number one. She is it. And everything, everybody, all the kids will fall under that. Nell, Chris ain't said nothing bad about you, and neither have your siblings. You are out here running your mouth, and I'm telling you, I fully expect and appreciate a response from them because you don't get to just say what you want to say about people. Fire shots and not expect nobody to fire shots back at you. They have every right to respond to you on Love and Marriage Huntsville. And because they're on that platform and you keep running your mouth, they are not using you as a storyline. You're using them as your storyline. You're talking about them because they're on that platform, and it gives you study saying, I don't want to be attached to the Fletchers. I don't want, and you did not want to be on their show. You know what you should have did? You should have put out a statement that says you've severed your relationship with your father, and you would appreciate it if they or no one else discussed you any further. And you should have closed your mouth and went on with your life. Done. And I guarantee you, nobody would have mentioned you because they ain't talking about you now. Content creators, subscribers, people who watching YouTube and leaving comments. That's where all the mess is coming from. It ain't coming from them. And since you want to discuss a 30-year-old divorce that has nothing to do with you. The 30-year-old divorce, you were a little kid. It had nothing to do with you. You should not be talking about something that happened that long ago. That's not your business. He has been with Nell for 30 years. Why do you care? Nell is not responsible for Chris and his behavior. Nell's not responsible for you. Nell is not your mother. Nell is not anything to you if you don't want her to be. If you don't want to have a relationship with nobody else, then you don't have to. And they don't have to have a relationship with you either, because you have done things that fully qualify your sister and your brothers not to want to ever speak to you again. You came out and you disrespected them and you violated a code that you should never do for clout. And you out here continuously running up your mouth talking about you trying to clear up things. You only clearing up shit you put out there. There would be no clear up if you hadn't opened your mouth. There are consequences to behavior. When you slander and go against people, there is a consequence to that. You have no right, none whatsoever, to speak on the status of your parents' relationship when he met Nell and when he got with Nell, because the only perspective you can have is the one from your mother. And her perspective may or may not be everyone else's truth. Let me break something down from you. Since you said they divorced in Maryland, Maryland requires a separation period. Before people get divorced, usually it's problems and conflicts in their marriage. They separate, they grow apart, they cheat, they see other people. But for you to get to a place where you haven't a divorce, that usually takes time to get there. People usually don't come home and say, all right, we're divorced. It can happen that way, but usually it takes time. If you live in a state that requires a separation period before you get divorced, are we all gonna sit here and pretend that while you separating, everybody's sitting down with their legs closed, not meeting nobody else and not trying to move on because they waiting for the law to say you done emotionally and mentally with the other person? Grow the fuck up. That is not how this works. When people in their mind decide they're done, they have an argument, they have a break, they leave each other, they ain't together in the same room and sleeping in the same house. In most people's mind, that is the break. The break in the marriage is not when a court says, okay, you're finally done. Legally, that's when a divorce is dissolved. Legally, mentally, emotionally, physically, divorce happens way before the courts give you the dissolution of marriage. It happens way before then. There are some people who will say, we're not supposed to see anybody else, touch anybody else, look at anybody else until we get that paper from the courts. But the majority of the world will say, that's bullshit. When I'm done, I'm gonna do what the hell I wanna do. I'm not waiting to do anything because I'm waiting on a piece of paper. If you and I understand we done. It's deaded. And I'm moving on. And if I meet someone I like in between the time that paper comes down and I decide I'm done with you, that to me is not a side chick. It's no way in hell you are going to convince me that Ariane and Nell are the same person. They are not, and that's bullshit. It's bullshit. They're not. And y'all can clearly see that. These are totally two different types of women. Their character, their moral fabric is different. Their work ethic, their contribution to society is different. So this game you trying to play by labeling her, don't diminish what side chicks means by handing the title out to too many people, y'all. Don't do that. Let Ariane sit in that title by herself. Because it's a certain kind of woman who deserves that title, and Nell ain't it. That's not right. It's not, oh, yep, she a side chick because the decree didn't come down yet. A decree, and I am a woman who has been divorced. I wasn't waiting on no paper to tell me my heart was done with him. When I walked away, my heart was done, and in my heart and my mind and my spirit, I was free to do whatever the hell I wanted to do, and I was gonna do that. Just that. A court does not determine what I feel. So, like I said before, Lexi speaking on things she does not know. This is a conversation that needs to happen between Lexi and her father if Chris chooses to engage in that anymore. I'm not sure I would ever trust interaction with this young lady. To me, she's confrontational, she's messy, she's conniving, and she's wrong. And that is why Nell said, I told you not to invite her. This is not her. This is who she is. She's already throwing out bombs, firing shots at people, now saying, if y'all come back on Love and Marriage Huntsville and discuss me, don't make me your storyline. Who that sound like? Who be on the internet? Who be on YouTube? Who be out here popping out talking about the show? But the second somebody addresses or talks about how they've impacted their life on the show, they say, oh, y'all using my image. Y'all making me your storyline. We've heard it before. Ariane says this same shit all the time. She can go online and spray and talk and say anything she wants. But the minute anybody on that show mentions it's Martell having an affair, they using her as a storyline. So now this is Lexi's claim to fame. I'm going to come out here. I'm going to say everything I want about y'all. I'm going to drop all these bombs. I'm going to spray you. I'm going to disrespect my father's wife of 30 years over and over and over again. I'm going to convince the world that she's a side chick. I'm going to have people talking bad about her. I'm going to talk bad about my siblings. I'm going to spray them. But when the show come on, if y'all say anything about me, y'all making me your storyline. No, Lexi, I fully expect them to say something to you. I fully expect them to say something about you. And I hope they lay your ass smooth the fuck out. There is a certain thing called respect. Your father is an imperfect man, as is all of us. Nobody's perfect. And at this time, if you two decide, the two of you, to resolve your relationship, but I have no expectation on anybody else in that family to make any effort to try to resolve anything with you, because I would never trust you ever with any of my secrets, with nothing. I would never trust you. You have shown yourself to be untrustworthy, disrespectful, unkind, jealous, and I don't care what the situation. There are plenty of people who have lived the experience of their father not doing for them what they should growing up, not being there, not caring. There are many people who have lived that. You listen, if you grew up in the crack epidemic, do you know the damage that happened to people whose parents were on drugs and on crack and who didn't come home for I don't know how long? People done been through some stuff, but it does not give you the right to do the things that you're doing. And I don't give a shit who capes for you. You are wrong. Your father did not do for you. He should have spent more time with you. He should have been there. But I am 100% sure he has other children who feel the same way, because what he was doing was something that took him away from the home, period. Nell has been neglected by him. All of his children have been neglected by him, including you. But your position is, in your mind, because you're his first child, you should come first in his life, and you don't. Nell does. You're a grown adult woman who is his child, and you all have the right to have whatever relationship you want. Ain't gonna change the fact that Nell holds top spot, and she ain't blocking your daddy from having no relationship with you. When Chris wants to have relations with people, he has relations with people. Hence, your anger. The source of your anger comes from the time with who he wants to make time with. You mad because it wasn't you. He didn't want to make time with you growing up. And you mad about that. You mad that he don't make time with you now. Well, guess what? Nell was mad because he wasn't making time with her when he was sleeping with side chicks. The kids were mad because he wasn't at home with them when he was making time with other people that he wanted to spend time with. That ain't on Nell. Stop blaming Nell for everything. Nell ain't responsible for Chris. Nell ain't responsible for who he slept with. Nell ain't responsible for you. Nell ain't responsible for none of that shit. Nell is responsible for Nell and how she raised her children. Your mother and Chris are responsible for their children. And this is why I say this whole blended co-parenting family thing that everybody's trying to act like goes well and it's just this perfect. It's not. Nobody will ever love and care for you the way your parents will. And when a parent fails to do their part in loving you, it is devastating and it hurts. I understand that, but that does not excuse your behavior, and how you have conducted yourself in this situation. You are 1,000% wrong. That is his wife for 30 years, and you are disrespectfully speaking of her, and you claim you get to do all this because someone said something about your mother at a table, but you have yet to reveal what was said. But I doubt very seriously that they spoke about your mother at that table the way you speaking about their mother. If y'all choose to have a relationship or not, you need to shut up. Because every time you open your mouth, whoever you speak about has the right to say whatever the hell they want to say to you, where they want to say it, and your threats don't mean shit to nobody. The worst thing you can do is threaten somebody but not think, how does that come back on me? You don't think about that. You spray, and then you sit back and want to cover yourself in the veil of victimhood. Girl, you ain't no victim, and when you throw some shit out there, trust and believe you me, it's coming back. To every action, there is a reaction. There are consequences to behavior. And I'm trying to figure out how the hell you missed that. You 30-something years old, and you act like you have no clue. You don't want to be mentioned on Love and Marriage Huntsville? Close your mouth and stop antagonizing people to respond to you. Fade. Just fade. Go on back over there with your family and chill. Get out of the spotlight. Stop responding. Just leave it alone and walk away if that's what you really want to do. But it's not what you want to do. It's not. You won't smoke. And I'm 100% sure you gonna get it because you're not gonna stop. And this is why Nell did not want you there. They know your behavior. They know how you act. And she did not want that on the show. But your dad did not want to leave you out of this experience because he already knows you feel left out anyway. So he invites you in, you do what you did, and now y'all back at odds. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. And unfortunately, somebody has to end that cycle. And that is determined between you and Chris, because you are the only two who bond and tie this thing together. And it ain't gonna be easy, because you have burned some serious bridges publicly. And if you do it publicly, you should make amends publicly. I don't see them out here spraying you, and I watch all of it. I don't see them doing that. You're doing it. And they have every right. What your threats are, they should discuss you on that show. And when you don't get to hide under, I'm daddy's little girl, and he wasn't there for me. You 30-something years old, grow up and clean it up. You out here messy. There are people who sympathize and empathize with you. I get it. But I am about right and wrong. You stay wrong. It's one thing to expect people to behave a certain way. It's one thing to do that. But if you go through life expecting perfection out of people, you always gonna walk around hurt, because it don't exist. Your father didn't do it right then. The only thing that man can do at this point is do it right now. And if you are sending back Christmas presents as he's trying to reach out to his children, then why would he be answering texts from you? And you sent him 4 texts this year? What did they say? Did any of them address the presents you sent back for Christmas? What did the text say? Were you spraying and talking the way that you talk now? That's the thing about people when they drop little nuggets. Ask in. I sent him 4 texts. What did they say? That determines whether or not a person is going to respond. And what did you say when you sent the presents back? What did your mother say when y'all sent the presents back? Because to me, if I send my grandkids a gift, I don't have grandkids, but if I send family members gifts and they return them, what is it left to say? You keep saying, I want a relationship with my dad, but he doesn't want to have one with me. He sends me gifts for my kids and I return them. I want a relationship with my dad, but I don't invite him to the most important day of my life, which is my wedding. And I don't want him to walk me down the aisle. Which is it? Do you want the relationship or do you not? And I'm confused. Which is it? Because if your dad was anything like me, honey, I'm going to take it to God and I'm going to leave it where it's at. He going to have to fix that. I'm giving it to God. I'm not going to continuously make no effort to do for nobody. I don't care who it is. I'm not breaking my back to keep doing for somebody for them to keep smacking me in the face with past transgressions. If you do not have forgiveness in your heart, I'ma pray, leave it to God, and I'ma let him work it out. And that is what I suggest the Fletchers do after they respond to you, because you deserve it. And just like you got receipts and can spray, they got receipts on you and can spray, because he knows things about your mama, you know what I'm saying? And he knows things about you that we don't know. And he can have opinions about you that are negative, and he can come out and just spray you. And so can your sister and your brother. They can start talking about you in ways that are vicious. And that can start to shape people's perception about you, although you're doing a very good job on your own. You want to sever your relationship with the Fletchers? Release a statement. I do not consider myself a part of the Fletcher family anymore. Our relationship is severed, and I don't have any further comments. And fade. Boom. Curtains. That's how you resolve that. Can you do that? Time will tell. But at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of us out here who love the Fletchers. We want to see them on TV. It's a real family with real issues. We like what they're doing. We like their personality, and you're not going to change that. No matter how many times you come out with your negative statements, you're not going to change that, because our minds are made up. Just like there are people whose minds are made up about you and your victimhood. My mind is made up. I don't see you as a victim at all. So you can decide what you want to do. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm Team Fletchers until they give me reason not to be on their own. And I will make that decision based on what they say and what I decide, not based on what comes out your mouth. Nobody thinks your father is a great dad. Nobody thinks that. Everybody thinks he could have done a better job. But at this point, you're not being a great daughter, and you could do a better job as well. Y'all, this is just, I wish she would just stop with the comments and the conversation. It's ridiculous. And I'm tired of people talking about how he didn't spend time with her when she was young. She's 30-something years old. This is ridiculous at this point. Drop me some comments. What y'all think about this? Her constantly coming out with these statements, but then saying the Fletchers can't respond and talk to her. What do y'all think about that? Drop me some comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Get out the way. Who got a watch? Who got the time? I'm raising the clock. Even in my feelings, grind don't stop. Got big dreams.